Appeals to order. I'm Ken Foreman. I'm the newly voted chair, but I was also on an overnight flight from Denver last night, so I'm going to turn the running of the meeting over tonight to our vice chair, newly voted, Kim Velan.
Hi, welcome to tonight's, thank you. We'll give it a try, I've never done this. Welcome to tonight's meeting, January 22nd. We have 3 continuations and 2 public hearings, and then some open meeting items. For me tonight, we have the newly elected clerk, Terrence Hurry. As you just heard, Chair Ken Foreman. Associate member Mark Kuhl. Also a new member, associate member John Sutherland. Sri Budrow, the zoning administrator. Andrade Guyshecker, is that? You got it. Okay, great. The recording secretary. Tonight we ask everyone in attendance is asked to show respect and courtesy by silencing cell phones, listening to applicants, witnesses, and the board, refraining from private conversations in or outside the hearing room, refraining from making derogatory statements, and exiting the hearing room quietly. After the clerk reads the application into the record, the applicant and his or her representative will briefly summarize the application, and then we'll have some questions, and the public will have an opportunity to speak both in favor or in opposition. So we'll start. The first continuation is number 8214, trailer. It's 611 West Falmouth Highway, West Falmouth. Sitting on this application will be Ken Foreman, myself, TJ Hurry, and Mark Kuhl.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chairman, members of the board. As you know, I'm Bob Ament, Falmouth attorney, and I represent the applicants, Trailer and Wisniewski. Since there was a complete presentation at the initial meeting last month, and I'm sure that board members have reviewed various filings that have been made in this matter, I'll be fairly brief. The applicants, as you know, have abandoned the business use that was allowed on the property and simply wish to have single-family use in an area that includes business zoning and numerous business uses very nearby and many condominium complexes. They want to use the historic accessory structure for allowed accessory uses. There is no intent by them at all to use the accessory building as a second dwelling. As you know, if you've reviewed the file, and I said it at the previous hearing, they offer to the town a covenant to be recorded at the Registry of Deeds, specifically saying that the structure cannot be used as a second dwelling, that there can be no cooking facilities in the structure, and it further says that the owners would agree to pay the town's costs of enforcement if there was a violation. And there are neighbors to the property whom I presume would be very vigilant with regard to enforcement of the conditions of such a covenant. The State Zoning Act says no bylaw shall regulate the interior of a single-family residential building. The Falmouth zoning bylaw says a special permit is not required for interior alterations to a pre-existing non-conforming structure for uses allowed by zoning. The bylaw also says when a special permit use is abandoned, as is the case here, there shall be no restriction on uses allowed by right in the zoning district. The building commissioner has agreed that the proposed uses of the accessory structure are allowed as accessory uses in the bylaw. I've submitted a letter to the board that he wrote in a previous case that specifically refers to all the uses that are proposed and more. We're not planning to have a bedroom in the proposed building, but don't feel there should be a restriction against unallowed use, and certainly if somebody sleeps in a room as a guest, that does not make the building a dwelling unit where there'd be no cooking facilities. So the building commissioner agrees with this. Prior decisions of the Zoning Board of Appeals are consistent with what we are asking, and the town council in his memorandum to the board questions whether a special permit is even needed in this case. As much as the Zoning Board of Appeals should protect rights of neighbors, the Zoning Board of Appeals also should protect the rights of an applicant to lawfully use property. The ZBA should not unduly restrict use of a property directly in contravention of the provisions of the State Zoning Act and the zoning bylaw. These applicants have been excellent stewards of this historic property, improving it, and I refer you to the 8 or so letters of support in the file that make that clear. The property is in single-family use. It was used by a contractor for offices and business storage. It was by special permit a real estate office with an apartment allowed in the accessory building we're talking about. There was business parking allowed in the residential zone outside that structure. And much of the property is in the business zone. And as I said, the particular property is surrounded by stores and services, offices, and multifamily dwelling. The barn is well over 100 years old. It was there before any of the current abutters or their families owned the properties. I think that the information that's been submitted to the board by town council and the building commissioner is responsive to the questions that were raised at the prior hearing. I've submitted correspondence, including case law, that's directly on point regarding the authority of the Zoning Board of Appeals to modify its decision as requested, provided there's been compliance with all of the regulatory requirements of a hearing and neighbors have appeal rights and so on. There is no reason to assume, and in fact it's improper for the board to condition a property on the assumption that it might not be used lawfully. But we are submitting, whether town council says we need a special permit or not, we're here. We're asking to essentially modify a previous decision. The board can do that. And we're offering a covenant which is very protective of the town's interest and is indicative of the promises that can be relied on of these owners that they're not going to be violating the bylaw. They simply want to make full use of the historic building that they have acquired and are maintaining. Thank you.
Thank you. Has there been new correspondence? Any new correspondence in the file?
We have the correspondence with town council, the building commissioner as well. We have Attorney Ahmed submitting case law and his correspondences with the zoning administrator. And several neighbors reiterating their objection to this application.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I guess I should, well, since Bob's not out there. Does anybody have any questions for Bob?
Actually, I do. Bob? You had listed the items of the restricted covenant, and I mean, just as a question, two of them actually, won't the accessory building won't be rented separately from the principal?
That's correct. We ought to take a look at the covenant that I prepared and see if it doesn't say that
I
normally.
believe it did.
What's that?
I believe it does. That's why I brought it up. I just wanted to make sure that you're repeating what the example that you gave in the file.
Yes, and the covenant that I prepared is not a sample. It is ready for execution, subject to any changes that the town might require. And so everything that's in that covenant is what we're willing to
So just for
promise to
record's
do.
sake and for the listening audience tonight, the two additional pieces that I was going to ask about was rental and also limited use to family guests and friends of the owners.
Yeah, sure.
Would you say that the entirety of the argument that's before us, determining whether the accessory building could be considered a second dwelling, all hinges upon kitchen facilities?
Actually, it's not just that. And the case lies, it's more than that. Now, we know, because we have a clear definition and a history of interpretation of that in our own zoning bylaw, that without cooking facilities, it can't be a dwelling. It's not one of several items which might make it a dwelling. It's one of several features that must be present in the structure to make it a dwelling in terms of its use. So we know that it's not because of that alone. However, there are cases where the courts have upheld second kitchens on properties where the court was convinced that the property was not being used for two separate dwelling units. For instance, outside a pool, it's not unusual to expect that somebody might have some cooking facility to serve guests that might be far removed from the primary residence. And we have structures in Falmouth that are like that. Some immediately come to mind that the board may be familiar with the McCready property in Gunning Point, which has special permits with a pool house that has cooking facilities, and by the way, a second, more bedrooms in its third structure. But there are a lot of examples like that. So it is also, how is the property controlled? It's not just that there won't be cooking facilities, which we're agreeing to covenant to, but that we're not going to rent it. The control of it is under the control of the owners, the people who are living at the property. They control it, they're responsible for it. People who are there are their family or guests. So it is, I would not say that that's the only thing that prevents it from being a dwelling. It's the use of the property as well.
And so in that same vein, not using a kitchen facility as, a make or break.
Well, not having it either, we're agreeing to that.
Right, I understand that.
Yeah.
Would multiple bathrooms make it a second dwelling?
No, certainly not. It can't, and we've explained why we want to have two bathrooms, but, we shouldn't have to do that under the clear language of the state statute and the local bylaw, controlling how many bathrooms people have, what their intimate habits are. But we want to create a private area for a library, home office, exercise area for the owners. The bathroom below, they may use it, of course, but really will be used a lot in connection with the pool, which you have Eladio Gore's letter about the issuance of the permit for that. And this is just a single-family property on a large lot. There'd be no reason somebody shouldn't be able to have a pool or other amenities.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you, Bob.
TJ, do you have any questions?
Not right now, no.
Ken?
I do not.
I don't have any questions either. Public comment, if anybody wants to speak in favor or in opposition. Or in opposition. Go ahead. would just add that I know that we had public comment at the last hearing too, so something new. And just introduce yourself for the record as well.
I'm Rain Gilbert. I'm a seasonal resident of 615 West Falmouth Highway. I've got two things I'd like to address. The first is what Mr. Ahmet referred to earlier, which is actually 240-3-2B, which says that exempt from special permit requirements are interior alterations of pre-existing non-conforming structures for a use or uses which are otherwise allowed by zoning. And he took this to mean everything being proposed was allowed by zoning. If you read the previous paragraph to that same subsection, it says exempted from the requirement for a special permit are the following. And subparagraph 4 says, alteration to a non-conforming structure where the alteration will comply with all applicable sections of the zoning bylaws in effect at the time of application and will not increase the habitable space. The obverse is clear. If it does increase habitable space in a non-conforming pre-existing structure, it requires a special permit. Therefore, the last words of the subsequent paragraph saying allowed by zoning do not apply, because it is not exempt from special permit because it does increase habitable space in what was at the beginning a storage and garage structure only. I'd like to just summarize some of the new and old things briefly. And I do have copies if they're desired. I'm opposed to the changes of the property's accessory building that are being proposed by Mr. Traylor for reasons given in my letter to the board and verbal presentations in earlier meetings. The quality of life enjoyed by me, my wife, and my family has been substantially degraded by the recent changes to the 25-foot tall ancillary structure that lies that far from my property line. The proposed additional changes, an upstairs bathroom and declared intentions to provide sleeping accommodations, would, in my mind, complete the conversion of what was a storage and garage structure to a de facto guest house and seriously limit I and my family's use of and enjoyment of our property. My wife and I both placed our faith in the conditions that the zoning board imposed on the granting of the special permit 15-10. In particular, that the secondary structure would be allowed only one bathroom, that it would have no bedrooms or sleeping accommodations, and that the first floor would be used only for storage and as a garage. Those were the conditions for 1510. The board was clearly attempting to prevent the conversion of the garage into a guest house, a second dwelling. In fact, the garage and the storage uses now have been eliminated, and those areas have been converted to living and eating spaces. The Huntington case cited by Mr. Ahmed in correspondence that you've received does in fact indicate that your board has the power to alter or rescind prior conditions placed on special permits. But it doesn't say that you must, and it says especially when abutters have demonstrated a reliance on those conditions. A reliance, it says, that is entitled to, quotations, consideration by you. The covenant offered by Mr. Traylor essentially codifies and perpetuates this conversion of a garage into a guest house on a single dwelling lot. It would be a 2-bath structure with living and multiple sleeping accommodations, lacking only the addition of a hot plate to meet the definition of a second dwelling. Dwelling is defined as a structure that accommodates eating, cooking, sleeping, and living. We have 3 of the 4 already in place, and the 4th, there is in fact an abandoned kitchen in this structure on the 1st floor. The addition of a hot plate is virtually undetectable, unenforceable, and yet completes the definition of a dwelling, if used. I believe that the approval of this plan would set a precedent, and a bad precedent for Falmouth, that would, I'm sure, be of intense interest to homeowners Falmouth-wide, as well as developers. We hope you will assert your power to deny this appeal and protect the rights of neighbors to some modicum of peace and privacy. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to see if anybody has any questions for you. TJ?
No questions?
Ken?
When you purchased your property, was this structure there?
Yes, this goes back 100 years or more.
In its prior use, it was not intrusive to you?
I'm sorry?
In the use that it's for storage and so forth, it was not intrusive to you?
No. It's a huge structure sitting 1 foot from our property line, and you can't help but see it, but you get used to it because it's not occupied. But in the last few years, it's become occupied in a very vociferous way, in a very busy way. And it's become very intrusive to the privacy of my family. We, up to now, have been using our porch as a gathering place, an eating place. That's being basically ruined now with what's happening to the place. It's I know there's a letter in your files from Virginia Landers, a prior owner, that says that over 80 years is the apartment in that place that has a kitchen, a living area, and a bathroom was used almost continuously. I'm challenging her memory because I've known that place for 50 years, owned it for 20 or thereabouts, and never have I seen a human being in there prior to the last few years of renovation and change. It was just simply an unused garage.
Mark? I have just a question for you. You said when you were speaking that you've relied on the conditions from 2010. How have you relied on them?
We didn't appeal. We felt that it was a good solution. They were able to convert the primary structure to a residence, and it protected our privacy by saying that there would be no increase in habitable space, and it would be no change to the downstairs, no use of the downstairs for other than storage and a garage. And we relied on this and had the faith that it would be upheld and accepted.
But did you take any action? Did you do anything affirmatively, or did you? No.
We accepted
Okay.
the conditions that your board put on that special permit. We agreed with them. We had no reason to appeal or take an opposing action. So we relied on those conditions being perpetuated.
Thank you.
That's our reliance.
Thank you, that's all I have. Bob, do you want a few minutes? Okay.
Was there anyone else?
Oh, was there anyone else in the public? Sorry, my apologies. Oh, you can go ahead first. Sorry, Bob. I'm new with this. Oh, and something new again, because we have heard some of the same testimony.
I appreciate you allowing me to speak tonight. I did not speak previously.
Could you just introduce yourself as well for the record?
Certainly. I'm Clara Hennessy Gilbert. I live at 615 West Falmouth Highway. I also own the 1.2 acres that are directly east and abutting Will and Joseph's property, which I call Lot C. I'm a seasonal resident of Falmouth, and I'm here tonight to appeal to you to not allow further changes to this property. There has been problems that were clearly stated by my neighbors that are directly in line with this property. Noise, there's a television that sometimes is outside. There's just a great deal of activity, and I don't police my neighbors, I don't think, to the point, except for when their sound comes in and bothers me. That's when I do have a problem with it, and I usually discuss it with my neighbors, and I do. And we don't call the police on noise. It's just not a neighborhood where you call the police. We straighten things out. Unfortunately, this has been a problem for us. And the increased use and increased livability and living in the garage, there are just more people and more noise and more activity, and it doesn't stay on their property. It's on my property, unfortunately. We are representing ourselves. And Mr. Ahmed submitted you a letter, January 21st, 2015. The letter from Ginny Landers, she doesn't use any specific dates. If you may recall, the Kinlan Grover asked for business use of the property in '97. They also asked for limited use of the garage. It was given, they never used it, it was abandoned. The use was abandoned. And that's it. I believe it's 2 years and the use is abandoned. And Mr. Gore's letter, he refers to quasi-judicial. They don't say anything about a non-conforming, pre-existing condition. They don't talk about it being a public use, mixed use, historic district. I don't agree that that particular quasi-judicial property needs to apply to this property also. I think it would have to be looked at better than that. And just to remind you, the contractor's shed or what have you was torn down by Kinlan Grover in '97. This has been a garage with an apartment that was not used and upstairs storage, pretty much. Okay. So, I also, you mentioned that there were letters from the abutters, as I said, that were complaining. I believe your administration, my husband was talking about a special permit. There was a special permit that we spoke to, and we relied on it. But also you had an administrative approval, correct? Admin 15-10. And in looking at the plat that was submitted by Mr. Jones, it clearly has a garage in it, right? It clearly has a garage. It has a residential area, it has a bathroom, it has a garage there. Okay. So anyway, the administrative order that you approved conditioned on the second floor use be limited to storage, correct? I believe that's what we're
Mrs.
talking
Gilbert,
about, and we're relying on
We're
this.
familiar, the board's familiar
Okay,
with
okay. so
with
you
what the
know
board
that.
has already done, with the board's issue. We're familiar with the history of the project,
Okay.
or the property.
So one of the issues, Ms. Chairman, was the policing and the noise. We're not going to call about the noise. I would prefer that the zoning board protect our property rights. And Joyce spoke for the Metcalfs last time. They're out of state, and the Jacksons are not able to be here. They're also out of town, which is unfortunate, but they did provide letters. I understand that Paul Grover, of course, he repaired the house, which is very nice, and now that Will and Joseph have it, they are continuing to do it. But, you know, the zoning code, it's not a popularity contest. It isn't who has the best house. There is a zoning code. As a property owner, my rights must be recognized also. I have the right to sit on my porch and not see, in what I thought was a garage area, people getting breakfast. It shouldn't be. That was my understanding, was that there was not supposed to be activity. That was my understanding of your condition. Also, people in the evening time, when we have company there, there's noise, and they cannot stay there for whatever. So, that is pretty much it. We certainly, when we were, this fall, we sat around our kitchen table with Will, and we talked about this appeal that he was making, and we agreed to disagree, which is fine. We have very nice neighbors. But there is a permitting history on this property, and we are relying on you to recognize what you have agreed to before. And that is pretty much what the problem is that you do have a permitting process. We thought we were protected. All three neighbors have written to you explicitly telling me why they object to it. And there's a good reason, and I want you to please consider our requests and our property rights.
Thank you. Let me see if anybody has any questions. Mark? TJ?
Questions?
Ken?
No.
Okay, I don't have any questions either.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob?
I first want to address the misstatement of Mr. Gilbert that 243 C2B is somehow limited by 240 C2A2. It is not. The zoning bylaw, section 243C, says that pre-existing non-conforming structures can be changed by special permit. And then section 2 states what the exemptions apply. And then we have 2A, and it lists several types of exemptions. And then it lists its subsection B. B isn't modified in any way whatsoever by subsection A. So one would simply skip over A and you would read, exempted from the requirements for a special permit are the following. B, interior alterations of pre-existing non-conforming structures for uses allowed by zoning. I remind you that the structure in question has no second floor windows facing the Gilberts. At the last hearing, we suggested frosting or otherwise making the windows on the first floor, which are already there, for a bathroom and a portion of the sitting area, and then the storage area, which has been nicely finished but is clearly a storage area, making it so you can't see out or in those windows. We have, in separate correspondence to the Gilbert's attorney, offered to make that change, and we don't have an objection if that were a condition, although given how I believe the board should find on this, I'm not sure that's appropriate, but we're agreeable to whatever works, and we are agreeable to making the windows frosted. So there is no visibility of the interior of the structure from the Gilbert's property, or there can be conditioned that there isn't. The use of the building itself should be undetectable. If there are activities outside, that's a different story, and it really has nothing to do with your decision. I don't know the severity of the noise problem or the issues that the Gilberts have described, but there are ways to deal with that. I'm going to point out, we also said at last hearing, and we have offered to the Gilberts, additional landscaping, working with them to try to create privacy. Now, I will tell you, and I will swear to the truth of this, that I was in the garage in 1997, and the apartment that was there was indeed there. It wasn't in condition to occupy, but the kitchen was there. The suggestion that there was just a garage there is simply not true. And the board in 1997 approved expansion, small expansion, I might add, of what was the existing apartment. And in 2010, the building commissioner issued a letter saying that that permit was still good because there had been reliance on it. In fact, the septic system was upgraded in reliance to be able to have that apartment. So we have a history of the property being used or eligible for use as an apartment. We know it was used for business storage. We know that there were, I've reported to the board, 7 parking spaces in front of that building for business use. In fact, I looked at the plan again today and saw that there are actually 8 spaces were approved. And all we want is single-family use. Now, if we use the building as a second dwelling, whatever that means, there is procedure to go to the building commissioner or to appeal to this board if you don't get the answer you want from the building commissioner, that in fact it's being used as a dwelling. We are not going to do that. We are not going to have any dedicated bedrooms. That's not the plan. It would be lawful for us to do so, and this board should not say we can't do that. What we can't do is use it as a dwelling, and we're agreeing we can't have cooking facilities in it. The Huntington case specifically says that the existence of an expectation of reliance on the earlier decision does not preclude the board from removing the condition, and Mr. Gilbert said so. It would, if demonstrated, if reliance can be demonstrated, be entitled to consideration. And as I said in correspondence, no property was purchased, no expansion of other structure. There's been no reliance on that condition, which was questionable in the first place. And what this board needs to do is consider this case as a separate case, a new case, apply all of the standards that are required for a special permit. We are entitled to ask for a modification. The fact that there is a previous condition that this decision would be different is in no way should be taken as reason not to grant the request. You can simply consider it if there's been reliance on it as maybe changing the game. It hasn't happened in this case. And all we're asking for is the right to use a historic building, which happens to be a fairly large accessory building, and just use it. Use it for allowed uses. In a building that, the record is clear, this board approved its use as an apartment, which could have had, did one time, and could have had a modern kitchen, and has a bath and could be slept in. All we're asking for is on the second floor to be able to use the space, partly for storage, partly for a library and a workout area, for the private use of the owners with no windows, no new windows, and none facing the abutters. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one quick
Oh,
question.
you do have.
Bob, can I ask you one quick question pertaining to Mr. Gilbert's testimony? He said he felt 243C2 subsection A4, that you are creating habitable space, made this relevant.
If I have a right to have habitable
I
space.
understand, but therefore it's not exempted from special permit requirement.
Well, but he's referring to a separate exemption. This exemption stands by itself.
I just asked you to explain.
I thought I just did that.
Okay,
I thought I just did
I'm
that.
slow.
If you read through, if you start with the exempted from a requirement of a special permit, the following, read the whole A and then read the B, B stands by itself. The interior alteration of pre-existing non-conforming.
Well, is this a contradiction? I mean,
No, it is not a contradiction.
2A4 refers to increase in habitable space. Doesn't that imply some change to internal structure? Is there a contradiction there in the bylaw?
Well, first of all, the section that, strike that. These are separate exemptions, entirely separate exemptions. There are two different
They are, but they're not
situations.
necessarily mutually, it's not one or the other, can't they?
It's both. Either would
Yes.
apply. If you qualify under either section, you are exempt. And wasn't this question reviewed by town council, who looked at this situation and wrote you and questioned whether any special permit is needed? In fact, he said none is.
Well, I'm asking for your view.
Well, I think you got it. I mean, I don't think, these are different sections, different exemption sections. Do you see anything
But how do we
in
as a
section
board know which
2B?
one to rely on?
Sorry?
How do we as a board know which one to rely on?
There are a host of exemptions. If you meet any of the exemptions, you are exempt from a special permit.
Well, if you don't meet them in one section and
We
you
don't,
do
we
meet
can
them in
forget
another
completely
section,
about,
then what?
about section A.
Then they meet one.
We're not proposing to do that in section A. We are talking about the exemption under section B, which is in no way modified whatsoever by the previous section, and which the town council has already answered your question. And so, you don't have a town council's, you already have the town council know where he's coming from, and he will be bound, and will follow that in considering any decision that you make. The building commissioner's
I
position
mean,
is
this
set
doesn't
on this as well.
necessarily imply, the increase in habitable space doesn't necessarily imply that it would be denied. It's just, it seems like it does suggest that special permit consideration is
Well,
required.
a special permit was applied for.
Yeah, exactly.
And we are here for a special permit. We are agreeing, in fact, to conditions, which we'll have to live with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So how would the board like to proceed? Have some discussion on it?
Yeah, let's discuss.
Okay,
Let's just get the pulse of where the board is.
okay. You want to start?
Sure, I'll start. Testimony by the Gilberts, I can totally appreciate with regard to increased level of activity and accompanied by noise. And property rights have to be respected. However, property rights of the applicant also have to be respected. And so given what's out there before us, everything that the applicant has requested that's going in for a use in that accessory building is ancillary to the primary use of the property, which is a private, single resident dwelling. Because of that, and because it's by right, I have to respect the applicant's rights. And so I would have to be willing to grant this because the reliance now and the assurance provided by the applicant has been that restricted covenant. And I think it's a good faith offer. And the discussion about one of the things that makes a separate dwelling is a kitchen facility, and obviously that's one of the restrictions that they've agreed to not implement. So just by virtue of appreciating rights of both neighbors and applicant, I'm sitting in determination of this appeal and would have to agree with the appellant saying that, I have to go forward on this and approve it.
Any other discussion, Ken?
So I ask myself under zoning, what criteria apply? I can, like Mark, I agree with and sympathize with the abutters in terms of, the disturbance that may or may not have been created in the neighborhood, but I don't think the zoning regulations empower us to deny based on the fact that people might be noisy in terms of their residential use, right? There are regulations with respect to businesses and so forth, but that's a different use. I find nothing under 240, 216 that's applicable. I find, I think it is subject to special permit. I agree with the fact that they're increasing habitable space. I think that does imply to me that it's subject to special permit, but I don't find any criteria for detrimentality that with respect to zoning. So I'd have to rule that the applicant has the right to do it.
TJ?
I am sympathetic with the abutters regarding their testimony, also bearing in mind the property rights of the applicant. I believe this board may be able to accept a restrictive covenant and perhaps place some conditions on modifying the special permit as well.
Okay. I too, it sounds like we're all on the same page, am sympathetic, but I think I'm probably less sympathetic. I don't think our zoning bylaw guarantees privacy. And I don't think that what the applicant's proposing to do is really going to have any impact from what they already could be doing outside. It sounds like the biggest issue is the noise, which is beyond the immediate purview of our board. And they're using their property as they're allowed to. as of right. So I actually think it's, as Mark said, a good faith offer, and I think it's a generous offer that the property owners are saying that they'll, bind the property, obviously to comply with zoning bylaws, but to put a restrictive covenant on it, to show that they're taking this seriously, to show that they're taking our concerns seriously. I think it would obviously be good to have them record that, and I think that we should approve the application, so.
So let me ask one other thing. So Bob testified that there has been an offer made to help with landscaping, other issues, and I don't know that any of those details have emerged. Maybe I'm forgetting something. What kind of mitigation to address the butters' concerns is the applicant willing to do, and could we put any of that in a decision?
Well, just, I mean, if...
It's a question for Bob. He raised it.
Before the meeting, I asked Mr. Gilbert if he had seen the correspondence that had gone to his attorney, and I gave him a copy of it, and in putting it back in here, here it is. Okay. So I'll just tell you what we said, and we can incorporate it, you can incorporate it in a decision, although I think it's unnecessary. I assure you that my clients do not want the Gilberts to have a problem. And so, just as in good faith, we offer a covenant to the town, we actually proposed that this covenant could be enforced privately. Now, that's between us and the Gilberts, but we said that we would visually obscure, in a manner mutually agreeable to the Gilberts, the north-facing windows, all north-facing windows in the barn, and install mutually agreeable landscaping that enhances the privacy and quiet enjoyment of the respective clients' properties. Now, I think that the board, since I've just said this, could make a finding that the applicant has expressed a willingness to work with the neighbor in these regards. I think for you at this point to get into exactly what landscaping should be done is wrong.
Fair
I think for you to require some visual obscuring of the windows, put that in your decision, that's fine. We don't have a problem with that. But I think it'd be more appropriate for you to simply make a finding that we've agreed we're going to do that. That's part of the, it's just a statement of fact. We have made that offer, and we intend to follow through on it.
How would you, if you were going to put something in about landscaping, how would you word it?
Well, I don't know if you've been all around the building. I've been around the building in the area where the swimming pool equipment is. And from the photos that have been presented, you can see that this property has been beautifully landscaped, but there is an area there where instead of flowers, you probably can put bushes. That will create more privacy. That would be the goal. The owners of the property do not want to be bothering the Gilberts, and I would hope that the discussions that they've had will mean that there'll be less of a problem in the future. But one of the things we can do is some landscaping, and we can screen those windows. So we're going to try to do those things. I think for you to...
As always, Bob, that it's, the intent of the current owners may be different than the intent of future owners. So, with a special permit, we are codifying this.
The problem is you're getting into an area about regulating the outside use of the property.
I understand all that.
You're
But there has
getting where
been
you
a
shouldn't be
concern
going.
expressed about privacy, and I'm just saying that while I think that the board certainly seems to feel that the owners have the right to do what they wish.
Well, make it
we'd like to
easy
be
for you,
sensitive
because we're saying
to
go
that.
ahead and it can be some language about visually obscuring. I mean, if, in a private agreement, it can be mutually agreeable how we do it. I think you can't issue a decision that makes what we do contingent on the Gilberts being satisfied with it, but you can put in a condition that the board is satisfied that we've made it impossible to look in or out of the windows. We can do that. As far as the landscaping, we don't have a plan for you. You don't need it. That's directed to exterior activity. Accept the finding that we've made, I think, and let us deal with it because we're going to do it in good faith.
Oh, I just also wanted to make one other comment because I had it highlighted here. And I just wanted to say, as far as reliance, I don't think a decision not to appeal something constitutes reliance. And I think Bob made that point very well, that there have been no structural changes or investment in property, purchase of property since that 2010 decision. So I just wanted to note that as well. So how would you guys like to proceed? Do we have a motion? Sri,
Motion
do
to
you have?
close the hearing, that's the first thing we have to do, right?
Yep.
Right.
So I'm happy to make that motion. I think we're there.
Second motion?
Okay.
And I would move to approve.
Oh, wait, let's vote on that. Oh, we have to vote.
Sorry.
You didn't.
So,
Voting?
Madam Chair, call the vote.
Call the vote, what are we doing?
You had a
Close the
motion
hearing.
and a
Yeah, we
second.
closed. Oh,
You didn't vote
oh,
the
shoot.
motion.
So what do I say?
Just
again?
say.
Have I been here?
Hello?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So that brings us to, I'll motion or move to approve the number 82-14.
Any second?
I'll second it.
Findings?
Well, we find that there's the applicant has made a number of, agreed to a number of limitations. How about that? Including a restrictive covenant, obscuring the windows, and the north-facing side, right?
I don't believe the obscuring the windows is in the restrictive covenant. I may have missed
It
it.
might
but
not be,
No.
but they've agreed to
They're
it during
amenable
the
to that.
testimony.
They're amenable to
Your
the frosted
testimony.
windows and a
Right, I
restrictive
understand.
covenant. No, yeah.
These are separate findings. A
Okay,
restrictive
I didn't get
covenant,
that.
Obscuring the windows is number 2.
That the use is allowed as of right in the zoning district?
That there shall be no cooking facilities, right? Is that redundant with the restrictive covenant?
Well, you can state that the restrictive covenant will state that
I
there
think-
will not be any.
I think the way to say this is that this is not a separate dwelling. That's our
You
finding,
need to
right?
make that in the restrictive covenant as
This
well.
is not a separate dwelling, and that's, we find that, and that's
Right.
because there are no cooking
Right.
facilities and so forth.
This is accessory only to the single-family dwelling.
That's correct. One of the other, via testimony, one of the findings was, the applicant was amenable to a mutually agreed upon means of landscape scheme or screening,
Right.
natural border.
Not rented separately from the primary dwelling. And just, do we have to say anything about the septic system being separate? Or
You can make a finding that the
Future?
accessory structure is serviced by its own septic,
Okay,
sure.
let's do that.
We want to,
Any others?
I'm wondering if we want to explicitly find that we do feel it is subject to special permit.
I would say yes. I would agree to
Since
that.
that came up as an
Under
issue.
what section do you want to put that?
I-
Or do you want to,
I
if
don't
you're
know
going to
if I
make that
agree with
finding?
that. I don't know if
It's
that,
an alteration of a non-conforming structure, that's for sure. It's right 1 foot from the sideline.
Well, the board can just
Where an
find that the
alteration
application is a
will
modification
comply
of
with-
previous special permits.
I would do that.
Do you want to do that?
That's fine.
okay. TJ, any other findings?
Looking over
On
the
the
notes
spot.
here. But there's storage in the accessory structure?
I think through the restrictive covenant and the discussions that you have had, the interior design is going to be based on the restrictive covenant. And you find what the testimony has said, that it's going to be a workout room or
Well, per the
whatever,
plan,
but
it's-
what the board wants to do is simply modify this, maintain that it is an accessory structure to the single-family dwelling, and accept the restrictive covenant with certain conditions of that restrictive covenant.
So we're okay on findings right now,
I
Don?
think you are.
Okay, condition that the applicant will record the restrictive covenant.
That goes without saying, the
Yeah.
restrictive covenant, that'll all be. It is
Okay.
also signed by the town, for your information,
Okay.
okay?
And then the additional one of the obscured, the frosted glass or however. on the
Visually
north-facing windows.
obscure, yeah.
Mhm.
So do you just want to put visually obscure, so not limiting them as to?
Yes.
And that is just first floor windows, because there are none on the
First floor
second.
windows. And that there, yeah, actually, that's part of another finding, is that there are no, and I guess,
Get that finding.
there's no intention of adding any windows on the second
Right.
floor, right?
Right.
So,
plan.
no windows on second floor with no intention. Second.
Condition not to be rented separately from the primary dwelling.
What I usually do on the restrictive covenant is make a condition for the restrictive covenant and list
Okay.
that the language, and I believe if you look at the
Yeah,
one
that's
that,
the-
the draft that's submitted,
Yes.
it shall not be a separate dwelling.
Okay,
It shall not have cooking facilities. It shall not be rented separately from the single-family dwelling, and it shall be used strictly for family or guests of
The owner.
okay,
the residents.
so that's all there.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Hearings closed.
Hearing closed.
Here's- sorry. Another condition we found was landscape, mutually agreeable landscape screening on the north side.
I thought that should be left as a finding, not a
Ye-
condition.
Right.
Right, because we,
So we're not going to
There-
oppose
there-
this?
How can we-
It's stated that they're amenable to working with the abutters, so at
Right.
this
So we'll
point, it
let
is up to
them
the
work
we
with
abutters.
can't, by
Okay.
conditioning it, we'd be saying we want some control over it.
Yes.
And it's left
Okay.
to the applicant and the
All right.
neighbor.
I guess that's
That's it?
per plans.
I think so.
Actually, even though it's a special permit
The restrictive
modification,
covenant, what you're doing is, it's going to be based on the restrictive covenant,
Right.
because it's going to take into consideration what town council said, what Eladio Gore said, and what this board has determined.
but also
terms
what
of
was
the-
presented in the plot plan, right?
But
Or
the
I
plot
mean,
plan is
not the plot-
unchanged,
Not the plot
well,
plan,
except
but
for the-
actual, the new use layout in the accessory dwelling.
That's up to the board. If you want to condition per plans, then it's up to you, but the restrictive covenant kind of covers that. Because then, if you condition that, every time they want to make a change, this is why we're where we're at.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So,
I think
So they can't make any exterior additions, alterations to the height, anything like that, without coming before this board. But if you condition
the layout.
the layout,
It
then
turns into
then
a
we'll be going
sticky
through this
wicket.
again and again.
Got it.
As long as that restrictive covenant is in place and those conditions that we discussed, then
Well,
I
that's
think you're
okay.
covered.
Yeah, with respect to the zoning, protections of the zoning bylaw, the key thing is we've established that we're not allowing two dwellings on a lot. I think that's the key.
And there will not be any cooking facilities, and it shall not be rented separately, which is a concern.
Okay?
So,
As for clarification,
hearing's closed, do we have to reopen it?
You can take it for the
Okay.
attorney. as long as it doesn't get into a,
I think you meant,
Debate.
I think you intended the frosting or the visual obscuring of the windows to apply to the north-facing windows
North
only.
windows
right, thank you.
On the accessory structure, right?
Yes.
The other condition that may apply, board's discretion, Bob had mentioned in his sample letter, pay town cost of enforcement.
That's with all
That's
of
also
restrictive, that's standard
Okay.
language
All
that
right.
town council has approved in
Still
every
in the
restrictive
learning
covenant that you guys do have that in
Okay.
it.
Okay, so that was Mark Cool and Ken Forman in favor. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those
4-0.
opposed? No one? Unanimous.
Madam Chair?
Yes. Oh, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back. Next is a second continuation. It's 84-14 Barnes, 83A Nantucket Ave, Falmouth. And sitting on this will be Mark Cool, TJ Hurry, myself, and Ken Foreman.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi with the engineers and land surveyors for the applicant. The application was presented at the last hearing in December, and we continue it to provide additional information in support of the application as to the comparison with the neighborhood. We provided a table that compares the, let me find the table here. Compares the bulk areas of 55 of the neighboring residences. I believe everybody has seen this application. The bulk areas of these 55 neighboring properties average a bulk area of approximately 2,400 square feet. The proposed project that we have before you is at 2,049 square feet, which is below the average. 30 of the sampled neighborhood properties are above this average, and we're more than 350 square feet below that average. Among the new information we provided, we also show a recent special permit last summer that was approved by this board for number 10 Hawthorne Avenue. That property was also to raise an existing single-level house, one-story house, and build a 2.5-story house to over 32 feet. Also with nonconformity to 2 of the streets, since it was a corner lot, and nonconformity to the lot coverage. I believe with this last information, we do show enough supporting evidence that the proposed work is in keeping with the neighborhood, and we comply with the regulations. Thanks.
Thank you. Let me see if anybody has any questions. Did we read the referrals in last time?
Yes,
Okay, we did.
they just got to find out if there's anything new to the
Oh,
file.
sorry, was there
since
anything
last.
new submitted in addition to what I discussed?
Just a cover letter with the spreadsheet of the bulk area.
Okay.
Yep.
Mark, do you have any questions?
Sure. Raul, good evening. The only question is, actually I have two. How did you come up with 55 properties? I mean, why not 30 or why not 20? How did you come up with 55?
Right. The original application had a little graphic that showed 3 blocks of the neighborhood and some additional properties around, and that graphic was used as a comparison for the lot coverages. We used that same graphic and those same properties on that graphic to develop this new table. That's what it adds up to, about 55 houses. I could go a little more, a little less, but I think a 55 sample is a good sample.
How could you go over how you calculate what you used as being the average bulk area?
Right. Through the Assessor's Department online website, we can get all the tie cards or square footages of each of these properties by floors.
Okay.
We also get if there's accessory structures such as sheds, garages, detached studios, and all of that information by square footage on that on those records are listed here. They're added up, and that gives you sort of like the total square footage of that particular property.
Does that number then, is that relative the actual lot size?
No.
So the lot size
the
would
lot-
be something separate?
It's independent. Some of this lot, if you see, are quite substantial. 18,000 square feet in this neighborhood is like 6 times the real average size of the neighborhood in lot. So the bulk area is a bulk number of those structures in those particular lots, irrelevant of the size of the lot. If we rationalize that bulk area for the lot, it will give you enough sense, in particular to those lots that are very big or those lots that are very small.
That's all I have for now.
TJ?
No questions right now.
Ken?
Okay, so this home has to be elevated a bit because of the FEMA regs, is that
Right. We talked about that at the last hearing.
When considering the bulk area, basically, if I'm understanding correctly, correct me if I'm not, you just basically took the first floor area, added together the second floor area, and if it's a half story, you add together half of that area. Did you consider the area that's elevated, in other words, the base of the home?
No.
Certainly that adds to the appearance of the bulk.
Right, we did not consider the area of the crawl space.
Right.
But similarly, we did not consider basement on all these properties that have basements.
But the ones that have basements that are not elevated are flush with the ground surface, correct?
I don't know that for all these properties.
Oh, right, okay.
I do know that some of this property, in particular, I definitely know that number 10 Hawthorne Way also has a crawl space, and I did not account that in this table. I do know that the assessor's cards do show that some of these properties have finished basements, and I did not account for that square footage in this table.
So this house is elevated about 5 feet above the grade?
Correct.
If it were elevated 10 feet above the grade,
That will be a finished floor.
then what would you do? I guess that's what I'm, in terms of the bulk calculation.
Because it would be the case that you have to comply with the flood zoning regulations for the finished first floor, that first 10 feet have to be with breakaway walls
Right.
to allow the flow of flood waters. So that is not a habitable or usable horizontal plane. So I would not count it.
You would not count. Do you feel that it adds to the appearance of the bulk of the structure?
I don't. I think all these other houses, should they have to go through the same process of tear down and rebuild and need to conform to these FEMA flood zones, even if they stay as a one-story house, but need to be 5 feet above ground, you should not be counting that.
Well, I'm not
First.
saying, say for whatever reason it's 9 feet or it's 10 feet.
I just wouldn't count it simply because it's being driven by that regulation for the flood
Okay.
zone.
So you don't think it adds to the bulk,
I don't think.
appearance of the bulk? But if it were habitable space as a, then would it be adding to the bulk?
Right, like currently there's many houses here which the first floor is well within the flood levels. That is counted.
Okay.
That's it? Okay. Did you make, I know there was some conversation last time about the dormer in the third floor adding the appearance of bulk. Were any changes made to that?
There's no changes shown or proposed or revised to the attic. I do have some photographs here of what's being done to the attic at number 10 Hawthorne, and I'll pass it along for reference. I will also like to correct, at the previous meeting, I said that there's two different ceiling height elevations for the attic, 7 and 6 feet in two different plans. It is 6 feet, the height of the attic. I was given that confirmation by the architect. And this is what the intention is for that attic, is to be used for utilities. So the same builder that built number 10 Hawthorne Way will be building this addition, this construction, and this is the attic use. It's going to be utilities, mainly the AC system.
And there's full stairs up to that?
Simple staircase going up, because it's also going to be used as the main storage for the house.
Can you just go over the setbacks again as well, because I see you're applying pursuant to 248-68A. Can you say again what you have and what is required? Because you are going from a 1-story to a 3-story.
The setback nonconformities, to Nantucket Ave, we have 11.3 feet, and we're keeping that 11.3 feet. To
That's, excuse me, sorry, that's designated as the front property line?
There's a letter from the building commissioner that says that both streets are considered front yards because they both are non-conforming.
Okay.
But we're not increasing to those non-conformities. The one to Nantucket remains at 11.3. We are improving on the Elishan Avenue from 15.8 that's existing to 17 feet.
And 25 is required for both of them?
25. In other projects, if you already have one of the street frontages that conforms to the 25, the other one would be considered a side yard and not the 25 setback. In this case, because we don't have one that's 25, they're both considered non-conformities.
Okay. And do the, I guess, that rear yards, do those comply with the 10-foot requirement? I think they will. Oh, 9.
The rear setback, we have 11 feet, and the side setback, we have 18 feet, both complying with the minimum 10 feet.
Okay. Both those comply. And then for the lot coverage, you're going from 16.3% currently to 24.1%, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, that is all I have right now. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I have one other question. So looking at this table that you gave us, you've enumerated the values for the first level, the second level, and then an attic or half story. And so am I correct in thinking if all 3 columns are occupied, then that's a 2.5-story structure?
I didn't personally went into all these houses, so I don't know how they're being used. This is the information from the assessor's cards. How they are being used, I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not talking about the use, I'm just talking about the existence of 3 levels, each of which has some square footage associated
Right,
with it.
so the square footages are listed in that.
Right. How many of these houses have 3 levels? I guess that's what I want to know.
Eight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sari, any questions? Any comment from the board, public, either in favor or opposed? Sure.
Joanne Burns, 83 Nantucket. Just real 2 quick things. We talked about the stairs last time. The Hawthorne House has stairs going up to their space. That was approved. And I don't want to admit this, but as we get older, trying to store some things without a full set of stairs will not be feasible, and that's why we have a full set of stairs. I don't understand, I mean, I do understand now what the bulk was. I had no idea because I did some research on it. And, you know, the fact that we have to go up 5 feet, but we are not exceeding the height of the structure. And in fact, is a little bit below the height of the house that's on Hawthorne. I believe that's correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do have a question.
Oh, Sari has a question.
Not of Mrs. Barnes. I have one of Raul. Raul, you keep comparing this to 10 Hawthorne. What is the lot size of 10 Hawthorne and the setbacks?
It's the same size for this lot. It's also a corner lot. It's 3 blocks over. This proposed lot coverage is 24.1. The lot coverage for Hawthorne was 27, if I'm not mistaken. The setbacks to the non-conforming setbacks here is that 11.3 and 17. I believe the Hawthorne project was 9 feet.
From the streets, just the streets.
Just the street, it was 9.3 feet and 7.1 feet.
And the lot size was the exact same lot size?
Lot size was 3,738.
So it's smaller?
This lot size is
3,796. Okay,
3,796.
all right. And the height of 10 Hawthorne, I'm sorry, was 34?
34?
Okay.
Do you want to have some?
And what was the, excuse me, what was the lot coverage for Hawthorne before the reconstruction? Because did they not reduce the lot coverage? I believe it was 30 maybe, or 29?
The existing nonconformities was 27.4%. To 27.1.
Okay, so it's just a meager decrease. Thank you.
Can I ask one other question?
Yes, of course.
So I'm looking at your table here, and so the proposed bulk calculation is now 2,049. Previously, is that correct? It's 580?
That's correct.
So it's about a fourfold increase?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
The current house is probably the smallest
Yeah.
bulk calculation of the entire neighborhood.
Do you want to have some discussion? TJ?
Well, we have another application here dealing with the FEMA regs, something that we're going to see more and more of. So in general, I think it's a good proposal. I think it is in keeping with the neighborhood, or at least with new construction in the neighborhood, and I'd be leaning in favor of approving it.
I feel that they are over-maximizing the use of this lot. I understand that the FEMA regs are forcing the building to go up, but they're increasing the size of this building by a factor of 4. They're exceeding the permitted lot coverage, requiring special permit. They don't conform to the sideline, to the yard, to the front and yard setbacks, and yet they want to put in a building that there's only 8 out of the 55 of these structures that are actually 3 levels. I think, you can look at these plans and convince yourself it's okay. When you actually see it built, I think it's going to look out of place. And so I'm opposed.
I'm really torn on this, realizing the effect that the FEMA regulations will have. But I would echo the sentiments of Ken, and I think mostly due to my site visit, because even though it's appreciated to have 55 properties for averaging, I kind of only went out a block and a half and specifically looked at corner lots, because that's what we're dealing with here. And so trying to figure out, of the 10 within the block and a half, only 2 would near the proposed height in addition to the bulk. So then I'm trying to balance, well, is 10 enough for an average neighborhood? And that's where I'm on the fence, right? Because, I mean, you did your due diligence, you put in the effort to do the calculations on 55. It's certainly appreciated, but the immediacy of the visual is where I'm having a difficulty. You know, bringing the vicinity in instead of expanding it out to, how many blocks did you capture?
3 blocks
3
plus
blocks.
some more.
I basically cut that in half and then halved it a little bit more, just looking at corner lots. Because the visual aspect of 2 sides versus 1, I think has to be taken into consideration when you're looking at bulk. So, because of the feeling I got from my site visit, I would have to say this is much too big for the neighborhood.
Can I add one other thing, Ken? You know, to me, this is what zoning is about, is okay, we have some FEMA regs, they're there for a reason. They're there because this area is subject to flooding. Maybe it's not a good idea to be putting big houses there, or houses at all for that matter, but in any case, people certainly have a right to put homes on their properties. But what we're trying to do is prevent those regs from forcing a wall of houses, all of which are up at 35 feet, that totally alter the character of that whole area. It's not the individual homeowner that I'm responding to, it's the concept of what this does to, in terms of creating a precedent that then every place where there's FEMA regulations, we're going to be saying, okay, we have to allow these enormous houses, and now we have just a band of really high houses, high bulk, all along the shore. I don't think that's what we want Falmouth to be.
Well, a sidebar to that would be, I mean, my comment to that comment would be, right now, we don't have that criteria because that's a criteria set by town meeting.
Well,
Criteria.
but the criteria we do have is, does it fit in with the neighborhood?
Exactly.
And the
That's what we
existing
have to do.
neighborhood, and so when we allow a home like this, then now we're changing the character of the neighborhood. The next home comes in and says, look, you already got this, it does fit with the neighborhood. So that's why I think it's so critical that we think very carefully about whether we're going to allow this to happen at all.
You got to keep in mind what's existing and what's proposed.
I agree with Ken and Mark on this one. I think the term over-maximizing is a great word. You know, it's a 3,700 square foot lot. There's a single family, small, as you pointed out. I forget the exact square
580.
footage. 580 there right now. There's already setback nonconformities. So now we're taking those setback nonconformities and we're pulling them up 3 stories. I don't find the comparison, and I know as a board we look at every application individually. I think that there was a lot of emphasis put on the 10 Hawthorne application. I think that's further down the street. I actually think it's kind of out of the immediate vicinity. That there was a big structure to the rear of that. It was a different board that approved it than sitting on this, and this is a different application. So I don't find the fact that the board approved 10 Hawthorne binding by any means on this. I think it's obviously a different application. Looking over the criteria, adequacy of the site in terms of size, you're maximizing to the fullest extent, in my opinion. You're not at 25, you're at, I think it was 24.1, but you don't have anything. I know last week we saw a porch or something to kind of break that visual up, and this doesn't have that. It's a box. So the visual, it's pretty harsh, I think, what would be there, especially on a corner. So I don't think the site is adequate in terms of size for the proposed use. I don't think, obviously, it's a suitable site for the proposed use. Impact on visual, neighborhood visual character. I think it would have a tremendous impact. I think that there's nothing like it, and there have been other houses improved in that area that do not look like this. So I'm actually strongly opposed to the present application, so. Sorry.
So you give them the
yeah.
opportunity
Any more?
to withdraw
We
or
haven't-
continue.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, I would like the opportunity to have the applicant approach the board one more time. And we'll probably make a decision of whether we want the board to vote or we would like the board to allow us to withdraw the application.
okay.
Is that a request for continuation or? Oh,
No,
no,
just
okay.
right now.
Because we haven't closed.
Yeah, I know that. I just couldn't figure out.
I don't understand how, and I know it's a different board, but we pay the same taxes as everybody else, and I don't understand how a house was just approved and we are under everything that they have, and there's a house kitty corner from us that is high. I mean, when you, and then to bring up the fact that the house was small to begin with, I think that's an irrelevant thing. That's what we bought when it was a summer home. We want it to be a permanent residence now. And if other people did not get that, I understand what you're saying, oh, well, this one's tall. Well, there's a house behind us that's tall. The kitty corner, that's a new house. That lot is not the house behind us, but that lot that's kitty corner. It's on Nantucket, but it's across from Elysian. That lot is the same size as ours as well. And it just feels arbitrary because these people have the same size lot. These people do. They got to put the house up, and because, and we're set back further from Hawthorne, I just don't understand. It seems to me that if there are rules and whatever, that it should go for everyone. I feel that it's like, okay, we don't want you to do it, but we let them do it, and we let them do it, but, oh, it's a different board. I don't see the fairness in that. And I heard what you said. I understand, oh, you're thinking this is a tall structure and stuff, but it's not fair. That's my personal opinion. I respect your opinion, but I would like you to reconsider, because how can you say that this one person, because it's 2 streets away or across kitty corner from us, how can you say that they could do it, but now we can't?
You made the point.
Can I ask the engineer a couple questions about 10 Hawthorne? So 10 Hawthorne, how many stories is that?
It's the same, 2.5 stories, same as this project.
I don't see any second level calculation there. What am I missing in your chart?
Let me explain this. Number 10 Hawthorne, if you follow my,
Oh, okay, that's what it was before, and this is what it is now. Okay.
right, was being
I've
constructed
got it.
this year is down
I've
here.
got it.
Are you also, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think the primary difference probably is the neighborhood.
I know that this all has to do with the neighborhood. There's no real definition of how much houses or how far from this particular house a neighborhood constitutes. If there's a lot that's an acre, and you only consider a neighborhood within 300 feet, you're only considering maybe 10, 20 houses. If these lots are 3,000 square feet, that same radius would consider a neighborhood of 50 houses. So the number of houses to define a neighborhood is kind of arbitrary. And just pointing out, this is 10 Hawthorne Lane right here, and this is our project. It's literally just 3 blocks away on the same road. It's still a corner. Same lot size, maybe smaller by 50 square feet. Larger lot coverage, less setbacks to the streets, to both streets. And they had to do the same thing, lift the house up because of the new flood zones.
Yeah.
Raul, after the previous hearing, and the board discussed how they thought that was a definite bulk, because it's just kind of straight up, and they asked if you had considered any other roof lines or designs. Was any of that taken into consideration between last hearing and this hearing?
The applicant did talked about it with his architect, but they want this look, and they need that storage space upstairs. So dropping all these roof lines would change completely the aspect of the looks that they were looking for in this house.
I just wanted to continue board discussion for a minute because I just want to address something Mrs. Barnes said, and that is the comparison to the existing structure. And 243C, this is a pre-existing non-conforming structure. Any change, extension, or alteration shall not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming structure. And I think that's important to keep in mind, and that's what we're basing our decision on, or it sounds like we'll be basing our decision on, at least I am individually. I can speak to that. I think that this is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. And I just also want to say, there are parameters, but no one has an as of right when you're talking about a special permit. There's considerations, there's things that we as a board have an obligation to consider for the protection of you and for the protection of the neighborhood as a whole. And those other property owners have rights, and it's just not, I think it's a special permit. I think we've enunciated, in my opinion, the reasons why it doesn't meet the special permit criteria, and at least in my opinion, I am not comfortable voting for this. And I, again, just want to say, 10 Hawthorne, it was a different application, it was a different board, and there were different same special permit criteria, but with any application, there are different things that come into consideration, and I know this board really makes a concerted effort to fairly enforce the zoning bylaw and fairly consider each special permit application. I just wanted to say that.
I think it's important to add that this doesn't mean that nothing can be done.
Right, absolutely. So, I think you get, Raul, a sense of where we're going.
Yeah, it's working on it.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh, I just said I think you get a sense of where we're going,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I want to give you an opportunity.
With that just brief talk with the client, she would like another opportunity to continue the hearing. She would like to try to address the look of the house one more time. If she doesn't come with agreement with the architect on something that it's lower in height, less bulkier, we will request to withdraw the application. But for the moment, we would like to ask for a second continuance.
So, can I ask a question? I mean, just to clarify, the reason for the continuance is there's going to be modifications done to the current plan? Is that
She's
how
going
I
to see if
understand
the
it?
architectural design right now could change and something that she can work with for a retirement house. If she cannot come up with that, we will ask for a withdrawal.
I'm okay with the continuance. Excuse me.
So I would move that we continue this to, Sari?
Would February 5th, is that too soon? That's like 2.5 weeks. Would you rather do March 5th?
I think to be safe, if I need to be there, do I need to be there?
Yes.
Yes, that's right. I've got to ask you guys first.
March 5th would be better.
March 5th?
I need a waiver.
You want the 4 members,
Yeah,
otherwise.
we do need the quorum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me. TJ, could you look at the front of that file and see when their 90-day is up?
February 4th.
So I will need a waiver to extend the 90-day hearing process.
We'll
I'll
sign
send
it.
that to you.
Yep, we'll sign it.
So you board
So-
want to make a vote?
Ken? did you move to
Oh, yeah,
continue?
so let me finish the
Oh,
motion.
yes.
So I move that we continue, this is 84-14 to March 5th, 6:30 here in Town Hall.
I'll second.
Okay, that's Mr. Foreman and Mr. Cool. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Hawthorne? Yeah. I think the neighborhood has a bigger house.
I thought the property was larger.
Okay. All set?
Okay, Stripper Lane.
So say suspended, right?
Okay. Oh, TJ, I guess I'll- oh, no. It takes a second to get those all together.
There's a missing paperclip.
Oh, you don't have to worry about the paper clips, TJ. We can put that back together.
No problem.
Okay. So moving along to our third continuation of the night, 8814 Peretti, 15 Striper Lane, East Falmouth, Mass. Sitting on this is Ken Foreman, myself, TJ Hurry, and Mark Cool.
My name is Pat Shooter with Harbor Homes Building, and I'm just going to ask for continuance. I've been out sick and realized today that the architect did not get the drawings that the board had requested to Sheree.
I guess we need to...
When's
we need-
available
If it requires 4, it's March 5th again.
Oh, again.
What's the date on
Oh,
this
that's
one,
right.
TJ?
Wait,
March 18th.
March 5th.
Much- Okay.
I will move that we continue 88-14 to 5 March 2015, right here in Town Hall at 6:30 PM.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, so that's Mr. Foreman and Mr. Cool. All those in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
very efficient.
You're not leaving me enough room for applications coming in.
Sorry.
It's going to be busy.
Okay. Now, moving on, oh.
This is TJ's first.
Oh, yeah.
Tim never got up to collect.
So you're going to need to read this one in.
Okay, now with our first public hearing of the night, 100-14, C. Daniel Harron and Mary G. Harron, 8 Brockton Street, East Falmouth, special permit to construct a second-story addition to pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling. If you want to read it in the left, the notice.
And it'll be the full board.
Oh, excuse me, it will be the full board. Thank you, Sari.
Yeah, just the first part, down to about here.
All right, being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws, you are hereby notified that C. Daniel Herron and Mary G. Herron of Nashville, Tennessee, applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals pursuant to Section 240-3C of the Code of Falmouth to construct a second-story addition to the three-bedroom, pre-existing non-conforming, single-family dwelling known as 8 Brockton Street in East Falmouth.
Okay, and I believe there was there a letter submitted?
Should be right there on top.
Top? Do you want to read that as well?
All right. So a letter submitted by the Emmett Law Firm on January 12th. Dear Mrs. Boudreau, as we have discussed on behalf of the applicants, I request a continuance for the hearing regarding the above-mentioned application. Applicant asks that the board here issue at the March 5th, 2015 meeting and is willing to sign a waiver extending the hearing past the initial 90-day period.
Madam Chairman, I move that we make the continuance good for March 5th for 100-14.
Second.
Okay, so that's Mr. Cool and Mr. Foreman. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
How many is that on the 5th?
Now we have 4 hearings,
May have to add another meeting. Okay,
which we were
moving,
trying to avoid, because we're going to start precinct stuff then.
moving on to application 102-14, Robert L., and I apologize, how do you pronounce that, sorry? I meant to ask earlier.
Who's that? I'm sorry.
I would have not
Cleary?
said that.
Cleary.
Cleary, trustee of 473 Shorewood Drive, East Falmouth. TJ, if you would read that in.
All right, being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws, you are hereby notified that Robert L. Cleary, trustee of East Falmouth, Massachusetts, applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals pursuant to Section 240-69E of the Code of Falmouth for a special permit to construct an addition to the existing single-family dwelling known as 473 Shorewood Drive in East Falmouth.
Oh, all 5 members are voting on this. Want to go ahead, Ron?
For the record, Raul Lizardi, I'm the engineer for the project from Homes and McGrath with Engineers and Land Surveyors. I'll pass along a graphic that I have here on the wall.
Thanks, Ron. That's okay.
The application is to make an addition to the existing single-story house. The house will continue to be single-story. The addition pertains to expanding the existing kitchen and removing the existing master bedroom and making a bigger master bedroom that's pushing out towards the right side on the graphic here. The kitchen will be expanding towards the front side of the house. There will be a new Title V septic system. Currently is serviced by cesspools. There's an existing deck on this corner back of the house that will be removed. In its place will be a patio. The house will continue to be 1-story. There will be cathedral ceilings for the master suite. The garage will stay the same. The existing living room and 2 bedrooms on the back will also stay the same. The lot coverage is going up to 21.5%, but below the 25% maximum. We meet the setbacks to the street. We have a letter from the building commissioner designating Shorewood Drive as the front yard, so we meet the 25-foot minimum setback to that. Alcott Road is considered a side setback. We're proposing 16 feet to it, more than the 10-foot minimum. And the other rear and side setbacks are 20.7 and 27.9 in excess of the 10-foot minimum. Lot coverage by structures, pavement, parking, and all of that, hard surfaces, is below the 40% maximum limit. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer. The builder's also here and the owners are here.
Sure, I'll start.
Questions, Mark?
I'll start.
Oh,
Look-
do the,
Referrals.
oh, referrals first, I apologize.
Do I read the whole? Do I read the whole?
If there's an actual comment.
Okay. All right, we have referral from engineering. This application was reviewed only for the impacts to the public right-of-ways and public utilities. Shore Drive and Alcott Road are private rights-of-way in the area. Any connections or alterations to public utilities would require permission from the appropriate town department. The project must not direct any stormwater runoff to the public property, abutters, or rights-of-way. We have nothing from the building department. Health, no objections, provided the proposed septic upgrade is constructed. Nothing from Concom. And that's it.
Mark, anything?
Hi, Raul again. The handout that you just gave us,
Yes.
could you explain off Alcott Road, that area designated as gravel? What's the use of that?
It's excess parking. Whenever they have company, there's a space there that you can use for parking.
Okay. All right. The other questions? The existing ridgeline height, what is that? I didn't see it depicted on the.
I don't believe it's
elevation
depicted
plan.
on any of the plans. It's approximately 20 feet.
20 feet?
There are 3 different ridge lines in the existing house. There's a ridge line on the garage, there's a ridge line over the family room, kitchen area, and there's another ridge line over the bedrooms area.
And which is the 20 feet?
The highest one is the one over the living room, kitchen area.
And that area, let's see, the living room, that's going to remain the same.
Correct.
Okay. Is there going to be a renovated stormwater containment system?
No.
With this build?
No.
The existing capture is adequate
Right now it's downspouts to the lawns.
to the lawns? Okay. And that's adequate? I mean, there hasn't been any complaints from neighbors of the town
Right, in
about
this area, there's
flooding?
no wetland nearby. We usually would do dry wells and contain all the runoffs from parking, driveways, roof runoff in conservation lands or near conservation and resource areas.
This is a, Green Pond is the overlay district, right?
Right, practically the whole peninsula is.
Yep. Intended accessory structures? Any proposed?
There's
I mean-
none existing and none proposed.
Since we're on the subject, any averaging of surrounding neighbors' property lot coverages?
There's a comparison graphic in the application that shows the neighborhood lot coverages. Towards the end of
Oh,
the
I see.
application before
I got it,
the
I got
pictures.
it. Yep, I got it.
There's a hatch dotted area that shows everything that's over the 20% lot coverage.
All right, so that's in the file, that's good. So, looking at the elevation plan, this looks to be a fairly large, looking at the front, looks to be a fairly large dimensionally height-wise. But the explanation is that area that I'm looking at, which consists of basically the master bedroom, den, and renovated kitchen, is going to be all vaulted ceiling?
Right, so from inside it's all vaulted. There's just going to be 2 windows. There's one row above and 1 row below from inside the master suite.
And the attic, purely storage space,
This is
not
all-
habitable space?
All this renovation will not have attic.
Okay,
There is an existing portion over the 2 bedrooms and I believe the living room that has an attic, and it has one of those pull-down ladders. That will remain.
all right. And,
There's a basement, and the utilities are in the basement.
Okay,
The proposed additions will be on a crawl space, not a full basement. The existing basement will remain.
okay. The dimension of the covered porch is 9 wide and how deep?
5 feet plus the step, which is another foot.
And that's going to be, it's covered, but it's going to remain open.
Right.
That's all my questions.
Oh, John, do you have any questions?
I don't right now, no.
Okay. TJ?
The windows on the second floor, from what I think I understand, is there is no second floor? That's
There
just
is-
for aesthetic reasons only?
Yes.
Okay. And going back to the basement, you said it was just a crawl space and mechanical storage down there?
Right, the crawl space is for the proposed addition. The existing house has a full basement, and that's where all the mechanicals are housed.
Okay. Is it finished, unfinished down there, or is it just a mechanical room?
It's unfinished.
Okay.
So there's currently no nonconformities, it's just that you're proposing to go above the 20%? Is that the
That's
only reason
correct.
that you're here?
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm not aware if in the record there is the letter from Eladio in regards to the front setbacks, but if not, I will leave this one.
I believe it is, right?
It should be.
Yes.
That's how I found out about Alcott.
Pass them.
Okay. That's
You're
it
all
for
set?
me.
Okay. I noticed that there are what appears to be new stairs in the proposed first floor plan.
There's existing stairs close to the garage entrance to the house that lead down to the basement.
Okay,
That's existing.
okay, because on the existing conditions, it doesn't show the stairs, so that's what I was trying to, across from the laundry is where I'm referring to.
Right. We're talking about this area here.
Yes,
Yeah, the stairs are there.
They are.
They're just not drawn
Okay.
on this plan.
all right, so, and then you already said it's not finished. And that den up front will have the arched opening.
Right, there's that 5-foot opening so that it cannot be considered a bedroom.
Okay. And then just touching on what Ken said, I guess you could have built as a right if you didn't have the 20%, so why do you need, I guess, the extra space?
This is the room that they wanted, the size of room that they wanted for a master suite, and it triggered that over 20%. And because it's over 20%, it triggers a special permit.
Thank you, that's all I have. Do you want to have some discussion? Oh, Sari, did you have any questions?
Public?
No,
Oh, sorry, public comment in favor, opposed? Okay. Now discussion.
Who do you want to have start?
Whoever.
You the boss.
Whoever, you can start.
Well, in contrast to some prior cases we've heard, this one, I think, does fit more into the neighborhood, so I'm inclined to approve it.
Oh, John.
It's just a matter of the lot coverage and just reasonable.
I would say the same thing. It's reasonable, it's exceeding what's authorized, but I think it's fine.
TJ?
I think it falls in line with our other houses in Great Harbors.
And I agree. So, have a motion?
Motion to close the hearing?
Okay, so that is Mr. Cool and Mr. Sutherland. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion on how to proceed.
I'll move to approve number 102-14.
Second?
anyone?
Any second?
Second that?
Thank you.
Okay. Findings? No existing and no proposed accessory structures?
How about no proposed accessory
No
structures?
proposed
No
accessory.
proposed.
There's no increase in height in the structure, right?
I think it's several feet.
Yes, there is an increase. Goes from the high ridge being 20 and it goes up to, thought I had written that down someplace.
It's about 4 feet.
Up to 24.
It wasn't brought up during the hearing.
Okay.
The height?
Yes. Mhm. He brought up the existing 20-foot ridge height, but not the proposed
That
24.
was
It's in the
It's in the
plan.
plans.
Then you could just say
Okay.
the plans show.
Plan show.
Plans show 24-foot ridge
Yeah.
line.
Keep landscaping, well, 24216.
Yeah. I think just looking at this graphic they showed, I just did a quick count in the record here, so it's 17 out of 38 properties in the area are at or above 20% lot coverage.
17 out of 38 properties, surrounding properties.
Shown on the map provided by the applicant. How about that?
20% or greater.
Solidify that.
Existing stormwater catching was adequate?
Yep.
Any others? Any, okay, conditions?
As per plan,
Per plan.
No accessory structures.
No accessory structures,
what do we have for bedroom count here?
it's 3 bedrooms.
Again, didn't discuss. Per plans will take care of that because it
Okay.
wasn't discussed as well. New
There
septic
was
system, that
no-
should be a finding.
Yeah.
What was that?
New septic system upgrade.
So there's no, almost everything else is a finding.
Right.
Yep. Okay, so we're all set? So that was Mr. Cool and Mr. Hurry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Oh. Okay.
Okay.
All righty.
Here's your minutes, Kim.
So now, open meeting minutes to approve.
Did you do these 2 minutes there? January 8th and December 18th.
Yep. And so, who was here for the December 18th that could vote in favor of that? Me?
You,
I was.
Mark?
and Mark.
Oh, okay, so all 4 of us. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
Yes. Good enough. I'll take Mark's word.
All right. Do we need to motion to approve it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to, what did you?
That was
what-
December 18th?
December
Yes.
18th minutes as drafted.
Second.
That was Mr. Cool and Mr. Foreman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. And then
January 8th.
January 8th meeting minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes as drafted of January 8th.
Okay. Second. All right. So that was again Mr. Cole, Mr. Foreman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next we have a board administrative approval request for 137 T-Ticket Highway, OCW Retail, Falmouth LLC. It's an A&R for 5,998 square feet of land transferred to the town for a sewer lift station.
I believe you've all reviewed this and understand that what it's for and how it's being donated to the town to accommodate the transfer lift station, sewer lift station, excuse me. So I think you've all reviewed that.
Any discussion
Administrative
on it?
approval by the board. There's a letter from Julian Suso in there that was submitted today. It was addressed to me and Brian Curry, and he's just stating that agreement is in place to convey a parcel of land on Spring Barns as depicted in the plans here. And for town purposes, fee waivers are approved. Excuse me, Mark.
Okay.
So
It's pretty important that the sewage not flow downhill.
Yep.
Is that confusion?
Okay, so does
It's a
anybody
finding.
have any discussion of it, or, I know Bob's here, but,
Happy to move it.
yeah.
Move it,
Okay.
yeah.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
And do you want to agree to waiver the fee?
Yes.
Please include that in your...
With the waiver of the fees, for the benefit of
The town.
our taxpayers and the town.
Grant with waiver of fees.
Yep.
And who made that, I'm sorry, Ken?
Ken and then Mark.
I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
5-0. Thank you.
And then any future agenda items? No? Correspondence?
I'm sure there will be some.
Correspondence?
No?
I have no correspondence.
Okay. So, that's it,
You
right?
know what comes next?
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.
Oh, meeting adjourned.